We have a Siding Unlimited poll question. Your ad policy. Which NFC North coach are you hiring? Dan Campbell, Kevin O'Connell, Ben Johnson, or Matt LaFleur? You can see us on the ESPN Wisconsin app. Stream us on the ESPN Madison YouTube. Matt, who are you picking?
I picked Kevin O'Connell.
Okay. Tell me more.
Just the way he was able to make Sam Darnold look very competent last year. And actually, Sam Darnold looks pretty good this year as well in Seattle. But that was obviously impressive when everyone had wrote Sam Darnold off. You know, like everyone thought he was a final product fully cooked, as we've been saying. It makes me wonder if Matt LaFleur is not maybe the quarterback guy we thought he was. Like if Jordan Love was in the Vikings situation, how would that look?
Yeah. I guess I'm going to go. So I'm not knocking Ben Johnson by any means. I think that he's done a great job with the Bears. I think it's interesting to see the way that organization has changed around, like the games that they lost that were so close last year are the games that they're winning this year, which is incredible. But I just think for him, there's not enough of a resume there for me to say, like, oh, I'd rather have him over Matt LaFleur. Maybe next year, maybe seeing how this year goes. I don't know. So I guess my vote would be, I don't disagree with Kevin O'Connell. I think he's great. I'd go more Dan Campbell. I almost said Dan Johnson. Jesus. Dan Campbell, because I think he is the exact opposite in terms of how Matt LaFleur is as like a you rah-rah. Exactly the things that we were talking about with Willie yesterday. Like, I know we kind of came away from that conversation saying it's on the players to get themselves up and ready for a game.
Jim and Willie said.
Yes,
that's what
I agree.
Players say.
I agree, but I also think that there is something that if like the mentality is negative from the top down, then that's going to trickle down. I will say that, but I think somebody like Dan Campbell, though he may be annoying to us Packer fans, like having that kind of energy and having just the grit and the grind that he seems to have and just the love that he has for football and the way that he can get his team to be really good, like. Yeah. Even though they technically have a worse record than the Packers this year, like
with losing both their coordinators, this team looks like the Lions of last year. After that first game against the Packers, it looks like they got smacked in the mouth, and they're like, "Okay, we learned from that. We need."
I mean, they lost to the Vikings, but yeah,
that's fair. They did, but the Vikings looked better than I thought they would.
Mm-hmm. But I think those are he's probably the one that I'm like, I would love to see that kind of energy for the Packers.
I feel like with how young our team is, the Packers are right now, that could go a long way. And I know, Jim, you're absolutely right. It shouldn't be required of the coach, but it doesn't hurt when your coach is like that.
I think you guys still are not missing the point. I'll be rude on that. I'll get to that in a second. But, Ryan, who's your pick?
I still don't think Matt LaFleur is a bad choice. Like, I think the thing is that I feel like all of us have kind of overlooked him at this point, but I think I agree a little bit with what Jason was saying yesterday, where at some point it's like, how much of this is on Matt LaFleur and how much of it is just on the team to grow up and to just do their jobs and execute? Because I think that more than anything, like, the issue is with the players in the roster right now and just them not fitting together, and just them guys not actually doing their jobs. Like, rather than even fitting together, like guys just aren't executing. And there's nothing you can do about that as a coach. Mm-hmm. I think Matt LaFleur has shown over the last 7 years with the Packers that he is the right guy. Is he the perfect guy? No. But honestly, I think that all these other guys have their flaws and their pros and their cons. And honestly, I think that Matt LaFleur is as good or better than any of the other three coaches in the North. I think all Packers fans are just sick of him.
Is this the best coaching division in football? Is there another division that has...
AFC West.
NFC West?
NFC West is pretty good, too.
I was saying AFC West because,
out of the four.
I guess Pete Carroll, I guess we're not really looking at him as a great head coach these days. But you got Sean Payton, you got Andy Reid, and then you also have Jim Harbaugh.
Yeah, and Pete Carroll's, I think we can give him a little benefit of the doubt.
Bowl.
The Raiders are kind of a
That's another
disaster.
example.
There's only 7 Super Bowl winning coaches in the league right now.
But then the NFC West, though.
Yeah, you get Shanahan, McVay, Mike McDonald with the Seahawks, and then
Gannon.
Well, I guess Gannon with the maybe not him, but
even then, like Pete Carroll's a great example where it's like I think the Packers roster and team is better than the Raiders at this point still, but like I also feel like that when players just aren't doing their jobs and if guys aren't getting it done, like there's only so much that Pete Carroll himself can do, and he's a Hall of Fame coach, a Super Bowl winning coach. Well,
and that's we could lead that in a little bit into Ben Johnson. So I just want to talk through each one of the coaches here. So Dan Campbell is currently in the lead with 44%. And I think you were closer on Molly on it that, again, I mean, literally it's not a game day thing. These guys are not getting amped up on game day. If you can't get ready to play and be ready to play for game day, you're going to get hurt and you're going to cut real quick. Like, that is a fact. I've covered game days. I've covered teams. That's a fact. If things are loose or weak or teams aren't giving the full effort, it's during the week. And so could things get a little bit soft or a little bit disorientated or a little bit unorganized?
I mean, you think about training camp. You think about the Packers training camp. Like Wildy has said it, that they're soft. They don't do anything.
So that is fair. So that's why I want to be clear on is that it's never a game day thing. It's never a coach like Dan Campbell's not doing that. That's the players doing that, but that's Dan Campbell setting a tone. Dan Campbell is setting a tone that we are going to be physical from the start of training camp all the way through. So I just want to be clear, like, I get what you guys are saying, and I'm not disagreeing with that. But Matt, no coaches.
I wasn't saying that either. I was saying Matt LaFleur should have embraced the trap game and fired up his team, calling it a trap game all week.
Because then it's the whole week,
not just on Sunday.
It's not his personality. So that's the thing. So you want a different personality of coach.
That's what I was saying.
Because Matt LaFleur isn't going to change. If Matt LaFleur tried that for the trap game or whatever, players would roll their eyes and be like, who are you? Like, Matt LaFleur, in his defense, is consistent. He is the same guy.
Consistent with taking accountability every single week.
That you're a phony coach talk.
No, not, at least not to the
Scared money
team.
don't make
I agree.
Okay, not to the players, because if you talk to any players, the number one thing that gets them to check out is when you start changing, and that's when coach starts
Yes, if he's going to be phony and phony completely 180 what he is right now. Like, of course, like if he all of a sudden turned into Dan Campbell, be like, dude, this is so inauthentic. This is not you.
Give me the same Matt LaFleur monotone. Call it a trap game, and I'm going to make sure our team.
You have no idea what he's saying to the team. So I get what you're
he's
saying.
telling the media it's not a trap game. So if he turns and tells the team it is, then that's phony.
Right. Well, that's not phony. He doesn't have to give the media anything. Bill Belichick never gave the media anything. Bill Belichick, if you base off media press conferences, Bill Belichick is the worst damn coach that's ever coached anything ever.
But it does just seems weird that if you are saying that to the public where your team is going to hear those comments, but yet you're turning around to them and being like, guys, we gotta be prepared. Can't overlook the Carolina Panthers. It's a trap game.
I'm not asking them to do the Dan Campbell.
Well,
Let's run
you're
through
right,
a
but
wall.
we're getting these players.
Biting kneecaps.
It goes back to these players. If the players have to be reminded it's a trap game or that they have to be coached up to be extra tight each week, he's already lost.
But I think if he has a lackadaisical behavior towards that game,
Do you think he was
then-
lackadaisical?
Yes.
in
no.
that game?
I think here's what
I think the entire game was lax.
But do you think that's on
And I think that's what happened when they went to London a couple
Hold
years
on.
ago.
But do you think that's on the head coach?
Why are you laughing? That was always a conversation, and people still bring it up today that Matt LaFleur blanked and moaned about going to London because he didn't want to go overseas, and then look how the team showed up. Like, that is still a conversation that Wildy and Tausch talk about on their show.
Those are two different things. That'll give you. But I'm sorry, Matt LaFleur does not win as many games as he's won. And I listened all preseason about, rightfully so, how Matt LaFleur is one of the best coaches in the NFL, and I'm not talking locally, on every national podcast I listen to, and he's one of the most thought of play callers in the NFL, and his offense is viewed as amazing, and he's getting patted on the back from developing Jordan Love into a guy that threw a boatload of interceptions and was a raw talent into a guy who, at the very least, is a long-term starter franchise QB in the NFL. Matt LaFleur did all that. And Matt LaFleur, his mentality, and you cannot like it, and that's fine. His mentality, though, is I'm treating every day that it's exactly the same. I'm not going to get too high or too low. He is trying to bring that to his players. Now, Matt, you brought up something interesting that is the best case for this, that if Goody still wants to be building a roster with a bunch of immature players, then maybe you do need a more hands-on coach. And that's a different conversation. But Matt LaFleur is a hell of a coach. Now, are Goody and LaFleur the right match? Maybe not. Because Dan Campbell is a guy that turned around the Lions, and he turned it around with toughness, and he brought in brilliant minds.
It took time, too.
Right, but brought in brilliant minds with Ben Johnson and Aaron Glenn, and they left. Now he brought in two other guys, and they are doing the same thing. Dan Campbell doesn't have enough credit. He was an offensive guy, but he has set a tone and a mentality with that team.
Okay, so going off that, I know we're going to get into Chewy audio later, but who are the head coaches from Matt LaFleur's tree?
Nathaniel Hackett was.
Okay, and how did that pan out?
Not great.
Okay.
And then, other than that, there are no other head coaches. There's coordinators. Luke Getsy was a coordinator with the Bears.
Right.
Okay, and how did that pan out?
Jim.
horrible.
Okay.
And I think there is something to be said that a lot of the shine, especially early in Matt LaFleur's career, was with Aaron Rodgers too. Like a lot of the success, a lot of the guys getting hired were offensive coaches who were benefiting from Aaron Rodgers more than Matt LaFleur. At least that's the way it was interpreted most of the time.
See, the way I read that is that Matt LaFleur, and you can make a case of this, that I don't think he allows others to coach as much as he should. And that's why a guy like Nathaniel Hackett or Getsy fail, because they're not doing that much.
Because they're not actually prepared.
Well, because Matt LaFleur is doing it all. Like Matt LaFleur is designing this offense.
Which
These
is that
guys
the
are just
best? Is that the best thing for him to do?
It's something he has to learn. Andy Reid used to be like that, and now he has talked much more about allowing Matt Nagy, or back in the day, Eric Bieniemy and other guys actually run it. Now, the tree thing is iffy because Andy Reid's tree is terrible. He has no coaching tree. So the tree is not a definite answer. It's a type of coach sort of thing. So Dan Campbell's the type of coach that could build a tree because he's more of a system builder. Now, the weird thing about Ben Johnson, I'm not an expert on Kevin O'Connell, is Ben Johnson, the thing he's most lauded for. Now, the Bears have a top of the league offense right now, which is crazy. But the thing that he is lauded for is he has changed the entire culture in that room, that he is way more Dan Campbell than anyone thought he was going to be. He is surly. He holds everyone accountable, and he is a guy that coaches very much like Dan Campbell, but then has the play calling ability of LaFleur. Now, I don't know how it's going to work out, but look at this. Chicago won 5 games all of last year. They've won 5 games already this year. So that is a team that was an abject nightmare in the locker room when he came in. I'm not saying that's the guy the Packers should hire, but Ben Johnson of the Dan Campbell tree has personality traits of Dan Campbell. Kevin O'Connell, Matt LaFleur seem more similar, and they're of the Shanahan and McVay tree, and that relies a lot on you have to be smarter than everyone else. Like in those
but
guys.
Is it really even that being that much smarter for Kevin O'Connell? When you watch his teams, like we watched it with the Vikings against the Bears earlier in the season, like have you ever counted out a Kevin O'Connell team?
No.
Like it feels like a Kevin O'Connell team
Especially,
can always...
what was that? 3 years ago when they had all those wins that they were like breaking records for how many wins that they've won,
Yeah, they
like
had
by one
11
scores.
wins and one
Well,
score.
there's
That
that-
Colts game that they were down like 41 to 3 or something.
It feels like his teams always are in the fight and they always keep their head straight. Whereas it feels like with Matt LaFleur's team, that this is the one drawback I definitely have for him, is that feels like his teams do not handle the pressure and do not handle adversity
Right.
very well.
That's fair. And the one last
I also, to your culture thing, like, what's the culture in Green Bay? Like, we know it
That's
now
fair.
through your Bears. We know definitely through the Lions.
which sold the Lions culture.
Vikings, to me, is like, we're never out of it. Right? Like, what is there something? Is there believe like Ted Lasso planted on the locker room wall in there? Is there something that Matt LaFleur
Can hang his
harps
hat on
and
as
hangs
far
his
as-
hat on? Like, I just don't know, and I feel like that's something you establish early. And has there at any point been a culture under Matt LaFleur?
Well, and here's the weird part. I know we got to get the break here. One, worth noting for the Vikings and even for Chicago, they have 2 guys. Brian Flores might never get an NFL head coaching job again. Brian Flores is fully capable of being an NFL head coach, and he's a brilliant defensive mind, which means O'Connell doesn't have to even think about that defense. And Flores can help set that culture throughout because he is a cultural setter. Like, you have that luxury. Like, as a guy that Dennis Allen, head coach, has full range of the defense, obviously works with Ben Johnson in Chicago, but Dennis Allen's been a head coach twice. Terrible head coach, amazing defensive coordinator. And so Hafley, he was a head coach in college. I don't know what kind of free reign he gets. Because one thing that you could say for some of these offensive coaches is that they're too involved in the offense, that they need to step away. But you have an offensive line coach as your OC for the Green Bay Packers. And then LaFleur is the de facto, he's the one calling the play, so he's the real OC. And then he's trying to oversee Hafley. And so maybe he should step away and let Hafley completely run the defense. Maybe he's doing that. But maybe he also needs to step away a little bit from the offense too and focus on being the head coach. Because last I checked, and I mean it's literally, isn't Matt LaFleur right up there or the winningest regular season coach since his time in the league?
That was coming into the season. I don't know how much that's changed. I believe
I mean, they don't have a lot of losses this year, so.
No, but I believe Nick Sirianni would have passed him at this point. I think he actually did at some point last year. I don't know what the exact stat is, but Matt LaFleur is definitely up there. But once again, going back to what I was saying earlier about the coaching tree, a lot of people would chalk that up. His career accolades, his career success, well, a lot of that was with Aaron Rodgers too.
Yeah, with Jordan Love, what's his record?
With Jordan Love, I do not know what his record would be. I mean,
it's still pretty good. And Jordan Love was
just what's their record over the last 2.5 seasons, basically.
Yeah. The first year, a little bit, one game over 500.
Malik Willis did start 2 games
in the regular season. But my point being, Matt
Stop.
LaFleur,
and like they won 2 games.
Anything
Haven't
Jordan Love
lost
is,
with Malik Willis when he starts.
anything that Jordan Love has done, LaFleur gets all the credit for it. I mean, obviously Jordan Love, but from a coaching aspect of it, the coaching is all heaped on LaFleur. He's the one that developed Jordan Love into this, and has developed and runs the most QB-friendly offense out there.
LaFleur is currently 3rd with a .651 win percentage. Jim Harbaugh is 2nd with .672, and Nick Sirianni is number 1 with .706.
And we'll circle back. We'll come back to this after the break. But John from Madison says, just a reminder, the Packers are still number 1 in the division, and I'm a Bears fan. And that's what I'm talking about. Be careful what you wish for. Because
we're not asking for a new coach. I'm just taking the time to observe the flaws that I think we currently have on this team, because I think they're trickling down all the way to the players. And like Molly said a couple weeks ago, we should be 4-0. We certainly could be 8-0 right now.
I think this is a Goody problem. I think this is a LaFleur problem. I think this is a Jordan Love problem. So on the other side, we're going to ask you, who would you marry? Who would you date? Who would you dump? This is Jim, Matt, and Molly, presented by Coors Light.